Okay, we will now do problem 2.1.2 or problem 2 from section 2.1. So again, it's the same old thing. We're going to translate from proper English to logical symbols. This is important. When we start doing the actual proofs, which is one of the main things on this course, we will have to interpret the statements in English and see what's the structure of the logical structure of the sentence or of the statement, so that we have an approach to prove it. So we're going to keep doing these sort of things. All right. So let's start with part A. So it says, anyone who bought a Rolls Royce with cash must have a rich uncle. So there are two statements, so which depends on a variable. So P of X is X bought a Rolls Royce with cash, and let's say Q of X is X has a rich uncle. Okay, so the anyone in here means that it is a for all, right? So it's saying that for all X, so for all X, if this X bought a Rolls Royce with cash, then this X has a rich uncle. Okay, so this is a fairly simple example of this construction. Okay, so this anyone here is translating as a for all. Okay, all right. Now part B is a little bit more involved. There are many statements in there. So it says, if anyone in the dorm has measles, then everyone who has a friend in the dorm must be quarantined. So let's try to sort out what are the statements that we have in there. So I guess the first one is that a person lives in the dorm. So X lives in the dorm. The second statement seems to be that, well, somebody has measles. So X has measles. Then everyone who has a friend in the dorm. So the next statement is X has a friend in the dorm. And finally, X must be quarantined. And I think these are all the sentences that we need. All right, so how is it going to go? So it's an if in here, so you have an if then. So there's going to be an if part and a then part. So if what? Anyone in the dorm. So this anyone in the dorm here is very different from this one in here. So this anyone is there exists, right? If there is somebody in the dorm that has measles. So if there exists X such that X has measles, there are two things in here, such that first, the person lives in the dorm and has measles. Okay, so if there exists somebody who lives in the dorm and has measles, then, so let me put some brackets in here. So this is the if part. So then, what happens? Everyone who has a friend in the dorm must be quarantined. So the everyone is a for all, right? So for all X, what? Everyone first has to have a friend in the dorm. So this is R of x. For x, if this person has a friend in the dorm, so for all x, if this person has a friend in the dorm, then this person must be quarantined. Oops, extra parentheses in here. Okay, so this is the translation of this statement. Okay, so this takes a little bit of practice. I think after you write it down, things are clear, but to actually be able to write this down takes a little bit of practice. You have to think about what is actually happening there. And as you can see, an anyone could be a there exists, or it could be a for all. Okay, so we have to be very careful. So we'll do the next parts next. Alright, so now we move to parts C, D, and E of problem 2. Let's look at part C. If nobody failed the test, then everyone who got an A will tutor someone who got a D. So let's try to identify the statements that we need. So we have P of x for x failed the test. Everyone who got an A, so we need a statement for x got an A. And later we need x got a D, so let me already put in here, x got a D. And we have this statement about tutoring, so that's a statement about two, about two variables, x, y. X will tutor y. Okay, so these are the statements that we need. So again, here there's a very clear if-then. So before the if, we need a nobody failed the test. So that is to say that it does not exist an x such that x failed the test. Okay, so one parenthesis, two, and braces. Okay, so it does not exist someone who failed the test. So this is the if part. Then everyone who got an A will tutor someone who got a B. So this everyone is a for all. So for all x, but it's for all x who got an A. So it's similar to the previous example. So it's an if-then statement in here. If x got an A, so if Q of x, then this person who got an A will tutor someone who got a D. So for this to happen, he's tutoring somebody. So there exists somebody that is being tutored or is going to be tutored by this person who got an A. So this there exists in there. So there exists y such that, well, x is, or the person who got an A is going to tutor this y here. So this y must have got a D. So we must have that y got a D and x will tutor y. So close this parenthesis, close this. And if you want to put braces in here for the then part, you would have something like that. Okay? So if there's not a person who failed the test, then everybody who got an A is going to tutor somebody who got a D. Okay? So these would be the translation of this example. Okay, so again, this is more elaborate. I mean, you do need some practice to do these sort of things. Now, D and E are fairly simple. Again, but, well, let's do it. So this is saying that if anyone can do it, again, the point of C and D, I suppose, is to show you how the anyone works. So if anyone can do it, the anyone here is, there exists, right? If there exists any person who can do it, then Jones can. So we only need the one statement here, which is P of X means X can do it. So this is saying that if there exists X such that X can do it, then Jones can do it. So P of Jones. Okay? Now, for E, is also an if-then. But if Jones can do it, so the Jones can do it is the if part. If Jones can do it, so if P of Jones, then anyone can do it. But in here, as it should be clear from the meaning, it's a for all. If Jones can do it, everybody can do it. So for all X, P of X, so X can do it. Okay, so that is it for this problem 2.